Hello everyone, thanks for coming. I'm Sauji Madhura Pantula. I'm a product manager from Oracle Cloud Infrastructure team. I'm very excited to have Robert Taylor from Cox Automotive and Gilbert Torrance from LifeScan. They have really very unique and very interesting stories about their cloud journey, how they have migrated their workloads to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and they are going to share that success story with us today. And I want to have you all pay the attention and the most exciting part of the presentation, which is their presentation. So good that it's on the second half. By the time you settle in, this is our standard safe harbor statement. I'm not sharing a lot of information about roadmap, but it's in there. So as I told you in the agenda today, I am going to cover a little bit about Oracle's cloud strategy and what makes Oracle Cloud unique in the sense, why is it suited for running enterprise customer workloads. And then I'll go into a little more detail about today's topic of discussion, running Oracle applications on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. What is that secret sauce that we have made that makes it easier for customers to move their workloads to Oracle Cloud and run them efficiently? And the second part of the session, I would like our customers to talk about their journey and give you the first-hand account of how they have done that and what made them successful in that journey. Okay, so let's get started. Oracle's cloud strategy and what's different. So you all know Oracle has been helping a lot of businesses and a lot of enterprise customers manage their system of record, whether it is financial transactions, managing how their customers interact with them, building products, or data analytics and things like that. These are very heavy workloads with complex architectural requirements. But we understand who these users are, what kind of applications they are running, and what are the business processes that they are supporting. So we also can understand what kind of platforms are important and needed to run these kinds of applications and run these kinds of business processes. So with that experience, we started on a journey. What did we build? We built a truly enterprise cloud, which supports very complex workloads and very complex requirements with respect to integration. We have built that based on three main principles. One is highest and most consistent performance. Two, low predictable pricing. And three, enterprise migration tools. So to begin with, the first one, what does that mean? Of course, we understand that for you to believe that you can move your workloads to a cloud infrastructure and run them efficiently and run them with the complex workload capacity that is needed, we have to make sure that our platform supports and provides almost similar or even better performance that you get from your dedicated data centers. So we have made sure that we can provide industry's best compute power and storage IOPS and network bandwidth to be able to do that. But more importantly, what's more important is being able to do that consistently. You cannot expect that something that's happening next door with your customer will affect your workload. You should be able to expect consistent performance throughout, day in and day out, month after month, year after year. To be able to get there, we remove the concept of oversubscription. We don't do any resource oversubscription, whether it is compute, storage, or network. It is costly for us to build that cloud, but it makes sense because it provides that consistent performance. The second thing is the low predictable pricing. So we have seen with a lot of our other cloud providers that are there that there are a lot of hidden costs. Costs change based on the type of compute shape you use. Costs change based on whether you are using larger storage IOPS or you're doing data egress. We don't have that complicated rate card. It's a very flat rate card or flat pricing, which allows you to move across shapes, Whether you're doing a 3 OCPU shape or a 6 OCPU shape, 8 OCPU shape, you should be able to move across these shapes without having to worry about how it is going to affect your, costs and prices and your forecasts. And by doing that, what we are saying to the customers is we understand that your workloads are flexible and scalable. We understand that your needs are not predictable, but we can support that because we are not putting an extra burden on you by changing the pricing structure every time you change. The third one is the enterprise workload migration. That is something I have been working on almost for the last 3 years with all our application teams. All the on-premise applications and workloads and databases that you have on your data center, the biggest block that we see is customers having to think about how hard it is to migrate those workloads without having to compromise their day-to-day operations or without having to compromise the customizations that they have done. A lot of our discussion today is about that enterprise workload migration, and I'm going to show you what we have built around our Oracle Cloud infrastructure to enable you to do that. This is a quick overview of all the different services that we provide as part of OCI Services. You can see a bunch of different building blocks like compute, storage, database, which provide you scalable, high performance compute, or of like GPUs and bare metals, or you can have a high performance storage IOPS like NVMe, or archive storage, which is really cheap for you to save all your data. And then you have a lot of database options for you, whether it is autonomous database that you have heard a lot today, or the database as a service. You have edge services, you have other services, or other choices like Cloud@Customer, where you want to, instead of hosting in Oracle's public cloud data center, you can host within your data center. And then you have a ton of governance and security features that will allow you to put in all the policies that you have into your tenancy in OCI. So taking the principles that we have, I just explained, what are the architectural points that we put in place that we can achieve those guiding principles. These are some of the examples of those architectural principles. One is availability domains and fault domains. One of the most important requirements of running enterprise workloads is having redundancy and resiliency. Being able to do that without worrying about how we can set up such a complex architecture is something that we can provide as part of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And one of the key building blocks for that is availability domains or fault domains. With availability domains, you can set up your application, which can be running on 2 different fault-tolerant data centers, which are 40 kilometers or less apart, and they are on a completely different power and cooling systems. So if something happens on one of the availability domains, your application will quickly start running on the other availability domain. They are connected with really high bandwidth network connectivity. So for you, there will not be any difference while actually the load is being moved from the first availability domain to the second availability domain. Again, the second one is no oversubscription and a flat non-blocking architecture. What we have done is, as I explained earlier, we have removed the concept of oversubscription. So once you say, I need 2 OCPUs to run this particular workload, you get the complete 2 OCPUs, whether you're using 50% of those 2 CPUs or using 90% of those 2 CPUs. So what that does is it gives you predictable performance, and it also gives you the low latency so that you don't have to worry about noisy neighbors hogging your network bandwidth or a compute power. The third is the off-box I/O virtualization. So we have removed the concept of virtualization at the compute layer, which means that the power that is provided within a particular VM or a bare metal instance is completely a power that you can utilize. It doesn't have a virtualization virtualization burden on it. The virtualization is done at a network layer. So that allows you to completely utilize the compute power that you get from your VMs and bare metal servers. And then you have the fastest IOPS and VMU storage. And the best part of that is we provide storage IOPS guarantee, which none other providers provide. Then that's because, again, the concepts that we have used to make sure that we can guarantee those storage IOPS to you. So the next part of this is, I've spoken about a little bit about what are the guiding principles that make Oracle Cloud Infrastructure unique, specifically for running any kind of enterprise workloads. So why does it make it even more special to run your Oracle applications? So as you can see here, I talked about the bottom layer, which is running your using IaaS, the OCI layer, to run your applications. On top of that, we built a bunch of different tools, you can say, which will allow you to do that, and services. What we have really done is we have brought in all the enterprise applications that are most popular with our customers, which run on-premise today, and we combine them with a bunch of tools and services and management that will allow you to easily deploy new versions, new instances of those applications, or to migrate existing applications to cloud. And we are bringing the best of both worlds together. So you can move your existing applications as is with those customizations and take the advantage of running them on cloud, whether it is cost or predictable performance or agility. So let's go deeper into the tools that I just mentioned. So the automation tools. We have built a bunch of automation tools that allows you to, one, rapidly provision new versions of EBS or PeopleSoft onto cloud. All it takes is a few click of buttons, and then you can actually spin up a new EBS instance, whether it is a dev test or or demo environment that you would like to test. We have also built some lift and shift tools which will allow you to move your existing EBS, PeopleSoft JDE applications to OCI without having to compromise on the customizations that you have done. Then we have done the optimization part, which is, we have made sure that the Exadata and the database cloud service and the compute, these all are optimized. And from an EBS standpoint, we can use all the different features that OCI provides to be able to run these applications even more efficiently. The third thing we have done is created a bunch of centralized management tools, whether it is integrating with OMC or integrating with Enterprise Manager or managing your usage and billing through OCI. We have made sure that you can use Enterprise Manager and other tools from a single pane, whether it is on-premise or on cloud, to be able to manage these applications. And then on top of that, we work very closely with our partners and professional services teams to be able to migrate and move and use these tools efficiently, so that once our customers are ready, we are able to get them through this journey. And this is their first step mostly. So we want to make sure they're successful with that step. And I'm sure you already know, no other cloud actually does this certification. We have large number of people working specifically to certify all these applications on top of OCI, and there is no other cloud provider which does that for Oracle applications. And I just wanted to touch up on a few other use cases apart from the use case that I just mentioned, which is on the top, the far right corner. We do have a lot of customers who use our database, and there are a lot of ISV applications that run on top of our database. We are working with a number of those ISV partners to be able to build such tools so that they can come and migrate those applications or spin up new instances of those applications on cloud. I believe there will be a lot of EBS or PeopleSoft applications that have add-on applications, or there are new standalone applications like Manhattan Warehouse Management System, which the customers use. So it's a very good way to make sure that the customers can expand what they have from from their footprint standpoint. Sorry about that. And then you have performance-intensive workloads, whether it is using our bare metals or GPUs. There are a lot of our customers who are using performance-intensive workloads with respect to data or compute power. And we are doing a ton of work with cloud native applications, whether it is from a developer community or from a startup community. And the principle here is we are not creating our own proprietary, cloud native tools that you cannot use outside. We are relying a lot on open source, using tools like Kubernetes and Terraform for management and orchestration, so that you can actually work that across other clouds, or work with even if you are on-prem using those, you can actually use that. So we are making sure that you will be able to use these open source tools across different providers. So that's the different things that we are saying from applications perspective, and specifically Oracle applications, that we have been very successful with our customers. But I would like the customers to talk about it. So Robert, you would like to take the first shot? Thank you.
Thanks, Sauji. Let's see. So I'm Robert Taylor. I'm with Cox Automotive. Cox Automotive is the world's largest wholesale seller of automobiles in the world. We have a vision to transform the way the world buys, sells automobiles. The Cox family has owned a series of brands in the automotive industry for years, and about 4 years ago we formed Cox Automotive. You've never heard of Cox Automotive before. We do have some brands like Kelley Blue Book, Auto Trader that you will have heard of, but the biggest brand that's in our sort of family is probably Manheim Auto Auctions, which sell between dealers. And we sell about $57 billion worth of cars every year. That's about $100 billion that we transact every year between buyers and sellers. And you'll see it like on the Kelley Blue Book and Auto Trader side of the world, almost 70% of the buyer of any car is in some way interacts with a Cox Automotive family company. So with that in mind, we are in the process of transforming our enterprise platform financial systems, so our back-end systems, from a combination of on-premise and Oracle private cloud applications into the Oracle public cloud. And we took on that because we believed that our business is changing. You might imagine that the automotive business is changing quite a bit. We believe that we needed to change quite a bit to support that business. So we built a vision for why we were moving to the cloud. And we had an advantage that most of our product companies, the sort of front end of the business, was already a very cloud-enabled set of teams. And they were building all kinds of products and services on AWS and Azure. And this made a lot of sense for us. And there was a lot that resonated there. And we were able to, quite frankly, steal a bunch of people from that part of the company and use them on the back end of the company to help us transform that. So we wanted to change completely how we deploy, operate, and manage our enterprise systems. And so we created a set of principles to go about that. A big piece of that was to leverage the platform. We bought OCI, we wanted to use it. And today our on-prem and our private cloud systems, things are slow to change. It's hard to get new VMs, it's hard to get pretty much everything that we need. So we wanted to be able to leverage the cloud and move quickly on things. That meant changing how we do things. And so that meant things like infrastructure as code and being cloud native as we built stuff. That meant changing how we build and deploy code. It meant that we weren't going to have a bunch of DBAs on a console provisioning new databases. We were going to use tools like Terraform and Ansible to build systems. We also wanted to change the process for how we built stuff. We wanted to do things in an agile way. We wanted to make decisions and fail fast. One of my favorites in the team was in the movie The Martian, where they have to solve problems. They have a saying, they have to blow the hatch. We just got to make a decision and then solve the next problem later. We want to make sure we make decisions and then we move past that. We find most of the time with good people and with a great team working on it that we make the right decisions right away, and we don't spend a lot of time working through and debating whether one option A or option B. And that we wanted to shift left. We wanted to build in from the very beginning things like testing, security, operations, be able to monitor everything that we're building from the beginning. So that together this would sort of help us deliver this sort of full new transformed platform of systems. We were transforming a whole lot of stuff. So our back-end systems included a whole lot of reporting systems, a couple of e-business platforms, and a bunch of support around that. So we spent the first part of our transformation building a set of strategies. Those strategies kind of built on those guiding principles and led us to how we were going to go about moving these systems from the private to the public cloud. We knew the long pole in the tent was doing our networking and connecting into the cloud. We also had an advantage here that we were already plugged into another set of public clouds. We were able to leverage a lot of that. We have, and you'll see this a little later, we've selected the Oracle Management Cloud as kind of our central single place for us to pull all the information together about how we're changing things and how we're deploying software, but also how we're running software. And OMC for us has been a big win in terms of our ability to really see what's going on and to be able to leverage that part of the platform. And then, and we are just finishing through this phase, we wanted to kind of show that we could move data out of our private cloud and into the public cloud. We had to be able to do this in order to run things. So, we have put together the team, and we have started replicating data between our private data centers and the public cloud, running on a database in OCI. And then we're in the middle of we're moving all of our enterprise reporting systems up into the cloud. We're doing that in an agile way. We're building that layer by layer, building to an approach where we can start to do our enterprise reporting out of the cloud. And then next year and the year beyond, we will move our two very big e-business platforms. We'll upgrade those and move them at the same time. All of this sort of timeline and approach is kind of built on this idea that we would learn each step of the way. We did not want to, we didn't feel like we were ready to be in the cloud on day one with what we call our cash register, our inventory solution system that runs $100 billion in business. We wanted to start small and build in pieces, and each piece builds on another. So replicating data and running a database, was a simple, straightforward first step, right? Who can run a database in the cloud better than Oracle? We should be very successful at that, and we have been. Building on that, then we go, built our reporting systems, pulling data out of that reporting database and delivering that through our OCI infrastructure, and then going on and building and running these enterprise applications in the cloud. To do that, the strategies that we put together in our first step was a very comprehensive set of strategies, a whole bunch of stuff about how we name things, how we build stuff, the patterns that we were going to put in place for how we get to the cloud. And for that, we used a lot of what we had learned on AWS and in Azure and the other clouds that we would do, as well as what we knew about Oracle, how we needed to run it there in our existing processes. And then we built what we called our DevOps Toolkit to support all of this. And so you can sort of see from this I like this picture because on your left, our change and release process, right? How we deploy code, and we leverage Ansible, Terraform, Jenkins, all these tools that are out there today, and all these other teams are doing in the DevOps world, but we're doing it to build Oracle workloads and deliver Oracle workloads in a true cloud native fashion, right? We hooked it into our agile process, and we've even hooked it into our OMCS team that supports us on some stuff, and the Oracle support teams in general by plugging into My Oracle Support. And on the other side of the world where we actually run this stuff, we feed everything that we know about Oracle Cloud Infrastructure into OMCs. All of our compute, all of our databases are built from the beginning with agents and feed information into OMC. So we can see live where we're at with things. Things are up, things are down, things are performing well. We can use the power of OMC to predict capacity, capability, all that kind of stuff. And we've leveraged a lot of what we can do in the cloud in terms of security, using CASB pieces, using OMC's security analytics pieces, but even using stuff that we've run in AWS for years, like CloudSploit and Qualys and other agents and all that. So we've plugged all that into this sort of complete toolkit that we use to run all of these products in the cloud. And like I said, that has been for us very successful. We're a third of the way through. We've built out the pieces of this. We've been able to show that OCI works well for us, does the job that we needed it to do. Oracle's been a great partner. Saji's been fantastic to get us information we need about when there are places in the platform where we could use some help, understanding direction, all that stuff. They've been great, and they've been with us kind of the whole time. I took out all the jokes so I could get through kind of quickly, but hopefully.
You should have kept them.
So I'm Gilbert Torrance. I'm based in Inverness, Scotland, and I work for LifeScan. I'll probably take you on the journey we've just been on. It's been a very emotional journey, I should say that to begin with. So about LifeScan, I guess, hands up who either has diabetes or knows somebody with diabetes. It's probably just about everybody, right? So the vision of LifeScan is to create a world without limits for people with diabetes, to basically take it from a very constrained lifestyle where you can't do that, to one where you have no limits. You can run marathons, you can have any sort of manual job. There are no constraints, basically, and that's the mission statement for LifeScan. And you probably haven't heard of LifeScan as such. Maybe you've heard of like the One Touch brand. That's like the One Touch brand for our like glucose monitoring, which is basically the test strips and the meters for glucose monitoring. So we were part of Johnson & Johnson. So I've been with LifeScan for 14 years, and so the company's been around for a bit longer than that. But I mean, we've got 20 million patients use our products. So you can imagine even the touch points, the data points we have for those customers. And that's the potential for the business in the future, to take those 20 million patients and how we can actually expand our presence with them. We're in 90 countries. We've got a manufacturing facility in Inverness, Scotland. That's where I'm based. We've got sites globally. And we were Johnson & Johnson until October 2018. And that's the emotional part of it, for being with a company as fantastic as Johnson & Johnson, and then finding out you're going through what they called strategic options, which means that the business isn't returning as much profit as it should be to the mothership, Johnson & Johnson. And we're looking at strategic options, either joint ventures, new product lines, or ultimately sell the business. And that's what happened to us. We were sold to Platinum Equity, which is a private equity, a massive private equity company. So that's really the start of the journey where we were announced we're going to be sold. So the business case, I've said, it was really strategic. It was an acquisition, divestiture. So we had to do something. We were running on-premise GDRs in a Johnson & Johnson data center. That was our footprint, ERP footprint. So the other driver was we had to have an independent platform. That was the number one mission, really. We had to have an independent platform where we had the ERP completely outside Johnson & Johnson. And that was very compelling for the buyer. And that was actually written into the sales contract, that you will have an independent ERP system from day one being the divestiture date. So if you ever want to have some pressure in the project, that really put it straight away. This had to go live, or else the sale with J&J was at risk. Okay, everything's the cloud. We wanted cloud-empowered supply chain processes, limited to what we could do in the short space of time, but that was the goal, to get on the cloud. And finally, the very tight project schedule. It was the 6 months from basically start to the divestiture date. So 6 months to do everything. And there was no negotiation on that timeline. You had to do that. It was just period. And living within the constraints of a large company like Johnson & Johnson, where everything's the budget, the business case for anything is exhaustive to try and get anything done, to say you got to do this in 6 months, what do you need? So it was like the best project and the worst project, almost. The best project, you have all the resources, you've got the cloud, but the worst case in that after 14 years of loyal service to wonderful Johnson & Johnson, you are moving into a private equity company. So I just called it from the beginning Gordon Gekko. That's where we're going on Wall Street. So basically, this is what we implemented in 6 months. So our bedrock was our Oracle J. Edwards ERP system running the main stuff, processes, manufacturing, order to cash, financials, procurement, and inventory, the bog standard ERP processes. So basically, we moved that, lifted and shifted that workload onto Oracle Public Cloud. So that's the infrastructure as a service component. So as well as having to move the ERP, we actually had to upgrade our ERP system from an older release to 9.2 before we could actually move it to cloud. So that was one of the precursors in the project. We also have some what they call bolt-ons. We've got advanced planning, which is the Demantra planning solution. And we also have like the usual bolt-ons for an ERP system with data collection. That's like the handheld barcode devices connecting into GDE. We had something called Transform for basically customer-facing documents. We had labels for like the manufacturing floor. We had Vertex for US tax management. And we had reporting and analytical tools as well. So they are blue because they are third-party products. So they go through like a different process to stand them up in the cloud. And as part of being in Johnson & Johnson, we had some functionality gaps. And one of the biggest one we had was like an indirect procurement was done, not in JDE, but it was done in like a enterprise Ariba system. So that was one of our main gaps, indirect procurement. So we thought rather than putting that into JDE, we worked with Oracle and how's the best way to close that gap. And we implemented like Oracle Procurement Cloud and integrated that with J. Edwards for the financials, the GL. So we're also using past products as well. So we're using like Enterprise Manager for job scheduling. We're also using interfaces and the database services. And finally, we have on the right-hand side, we have a number of integrations to third-party systems for manufacturing, for warehouse management, financials. So that's our cloud solution. So, I mean, that was 6 months from signing the contracts, and we went live on the 1st of October, a couple of weeks ago. So we moved the JD on-premise to public cloud, including the bolt-ons. It was something like 105 virtual servers. We basically moved to the cloud, did the reinstall, the software, everything else, validation. We also, at the same, if that was enough, we implemented SaaS Procurement Cloud for indirect procurement, basically non-inventory procurement. And we basically rewired something like 170 inbound and outbound interfaces from JDE. Okay, we're also finding it's about 20% performance improvements, but it's running fantastically well in the cloud. I have to say it's much better than J&J. And there's nobody in J&J here, but and really the system was stable on day one. With all that functionality, just to work from day one was incredible. Because our CFO said, don't worry about anything else. As long as we can manufacture and ship on day one, everything else can be patched up later. But in day one, we were manufacturing, shipping, taking new customer orders, applying cash, moving inventory around the warehouse, and running all the interfaces on day one. So it was fantastic, really. I mean, that's the testament to the success. We always thought in the compressed timeline that day one would be really rough, and it's almost like it was a trade-off. We were expecting it to be like the divestiture date to be pushed out just to give the business more time, to give IT more time. But it was just so aggressive. We said, get it in. It will be rough, but live with it. So the fact that we were stable in day one, it was what's all the fuss about. Okay, how we did it. So minimize complexity. There was a lot of complexity you can see from the stack, but I think it was the realization that just take what you've got and put it on the cloud. Some process improvements, but don't boil the ocean. Just you need to get it there quickly. Okay, we have some, on the LifeScan side, we've some strong business analysts in-house. And GA, that's Group OASA, that's our JDE ERP Implementation Partners. So we partnered, they had a deep knowledge of our business processes, and so they were our implementation partner of choice for the journey. And then we introduced Oracle into the mix. So it's really the fantastic teamwork, really from starting with Mary Lynch over here from Oracle back in January when we started having the initial meetings, all the way through. It's just been great collaboration between all those partners. And it really is just one project team. And focus on integrating. What we're told is that GDRs will work in the cloud. The things you need to test are the interfaces, any bolt-ons. In J&J, all the ports are open basically, so you can connect to anything. Whereas in the cloud, everything's closed. So you might think printing's easy, but it's not, because that port will be closed. You've got to open it, test it, and basically ground all your processes and applications and test end to end. Okay, where we are now, so that's where we are. So empowering the future with the cloud, take advantage of JD 9.2. But really where we are just now, it's a halfway house. Our ERP and a lot of the processes are outside of J&J, they're independent, but we still have a number of TSA transition services agreements with Johnson & Johnson. There's still some markets, they do like the order to cash, for example. They do the distribution from Johnson & Johnson warehouses at the moment. So our next part of the journey is getting out of those TSAs because they're expensive. J&J don't give distribution for free. So we're basically had like a couple of weeks breathing space, and now we need to ramp up in the projects again to implement basically exit the TSAs so that LifeScan is really like a self-standing independent company. And I guess the next journey, once we're independent, is to basically use the cloud, use everything for the digital transformation of the business. Because in the private equity world, we'll be measured, and I have no doubt it's a different world completely, I know that already, that we'll be measured in driving the business forward and where we can add value and reduce cost. That's the journey we've been on, thank you, and we'll
Thank you
keep
so
on
much,
the journey.
Robert. That was two very incredible stories. Thank you so much for coming and sharing that with us. I have just put a few related sessions here so that if you're interested in learning more specifically about OCI, we have a few sessions there. If you want to learn more about advanced architectures for building Oracle applications, that's a really good session on Wednesday. If you have any more questions from the session or other application sessions, I'm doing a BQ kind of a session where you can ask any questions. It's just question and answer session. You're welcome to join that. And then you have one more session. Actually, Gilbert is joining that session where they're going to go deeper into the PaaS and SaaS side of extending, your applications into Oracle Cloud. So I'm, happy to take any more questions. I think have 5 more minutes. Any questions? Wow, we covered everything. Thank you. And I give you back your 5 minutes. Thank you so much for coming and joining us for the session.